So I just appreciate you being a part of my office. For those who don't know me, I am Veronica Bearfeld. I am your team leader, CEO for this office. I am one of the co-owners as well. So I'm so glad that I get to see each one of you and be a part of your business, which is so important. So my background is in corporate and litigation law. So I was a lead paralegal for 13 years, and then I've been with Keller Williams for almost, I think, 14 years roughly. But I started part-time, and then I went into real estate full-time. I was a lease guru queen, and those leases turned into buyers. And then I tapped into the first-time home buyers. I wanted to make sure everyone had a piece of the American dream. So I used to do a lot of home buyer seminars. So I love doing that. So if you ever want help with that, let me know. I have a great presentation that you can always borrow and have, and then just make it your own. And then I tapped into the luxury market. That was a really neat market to tap into because I thought that since I wasn't rich like they were, I couldn't buy and sell like they could, but that was not correct. If you ever want to tap into the luxury market, I highly recommend you get a book called Rich Buyer, Rich Seller. That is by Lori Mormore. And she taught me, she's from Dallas, she taught me how to work with luxury listings and work with luxury buyers. So that's a big plus. And then I got into leadership, and then I got into ownership. So thank you for allowing me to be able to teach you how to do a powerful listing presentation. So I'm going to share my screen, and the way I teach is I'm going to pretend like I'm talking to you as the sellers. So you probably won't have to take a lot of notes because you're going to need to watch more than anything. And then if you would like a copy of my presentation, I'll be happy to share it with you. It is copyrighted though, so that means technically you can't really use it exactly the way I have it, but what you can do is make it your own. And Valerie Davis did it for myself. So we have a transaction coordinator named Valerie Davis. She will be happy to do your own listing presentation. She does charge $100, but it is well worth it because she customizes it and makes it your own. And you're going to see what she did for me. And she combined what I used to do and put it together. So sit back and relax and enjoy your listing presentation. And if you have any questions, please raise your hand. Please ask in the chat box, and I'll be happy to stop and be able to answer questions. I do talk fast. I'm not from New York, but I just talk fast. I'm very passionate at what I do. So it's okay to tell me, Veronica, slow down, or go like this and I'll see you. And that means to slow down, because I'll get going and definitely be able to show you what I want you to learn. For just some side notes, I can go into anybody's home on a listing presentation and do it within 45 minutes and get them to sign and pretty much be done with the listing part in an hour, and then do whatever else I need to do in regards to the house and be out of there in about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I want you to know that at times you shouldn't be there that long past 2 hours. So block your time when you're going on a listing presentation for about that much time. They're there to interview you, and you're there to interview them. A lot of times I've walked into homes and I knew there was no way I was going to be able to work with that couple, or you know what, that gentleman was a little bit more challenging than I expected. And it's okay to not take the listing. So don't feel like, you know what, I have no choice, because you don't have to. People always ask, well, what happens if somebody wants to list it for 300,000, but the house is only worth 250 because you did your comps? My recommendation to you is not to take the listing, or to, if you do decide, you can, because what you don't want to do is waste your marketing dollars, but you can take the listing. And when you take the listing, you have to agree to say, Mrs. Seller, I'll be willing to do 300,000, but the market doesn't stay 300,000. So I'll list it. But if we don't get any showings or any offers in the first week or two, that you're willing to sign an amendment and reduce the price to 250 as I'm recommending. Otherwise, you know, there's probably, I don't want to waste your time or waste my marketing dollars on this beautiful home, because again, I don't determine the market determines itself. Okay. And then when we sign the listing agreement, they will sign the amendment. Everybody's going to think they have the most prettiest house, the most top dollar house ever. And you want to be able to let them know that your job as the expert in the industry is to make sure they get as much money for their home. But most of all, again, you don't determine the market. I recommend for you guys to, if your listing appointment is at 3 o'clock, you need to be in the area by 2:30. Because the reason why I say that is because you want to be able to make sure that nothing else has come on the market. And if you go straight to the home and you notice 2 blocks over, the seller's telling you, did you look at the house on Main Street? You notice there's a new listing coming up and you don't have no idea about it. You need to be able just to drive the neighborhood just to make sure nothing hasn't came on the market that's not listed yet. And if you should see something that says coming soon on that listing on Main Street, you want to call that agent and say, hi, I'm Veronica Barefield with Keller Williams. I noticed you have a listing coming up. I work with buyers in this area all the time. What are you going to sell that house for? And tell me a little bit about it. You don't have to tell her you're getting ready to go on a listing appointment in 30 minutes, 2 streets over, because I promise you, neighbors talk, and she may get a hold of that seller, and then you've lost an opportunity to be considered for that listing. As far as you're concerned, you are just curious about that listing because you've got buyers. So when you're in front of that seller and they ask about that house 2 streets over, you can say, yes, I already called on it and it's going for $275. It's been completely renovated and they're relocating to Chicago, so they need to sell soon. You've got an already information, so you look more like the expert in the area. So I'm going to kind of show you from the very beginning when I'm going to use Raymond. Raymond, you're the first guy I see on my Zoom. So if you don't mind, sir, you're going to be my favorite today. I'm going to use you as an example. So Raymond calls me and tells me that a college friend of mine's recommended me to come to list his home. So I'm going to talk to Raymond. And what I do is I first ask questions. Raymond, what are you looking to sell? Because Raymond may not be urgent. I mean, in a sense of wanting to sell very quickly, he's just kind of maybe wanting to test the market. So you want to get a feel of the urgency. The other thing I would definitely recommend is that to ask him, well, when's the best time to meet with you? Can you meet with me Thursday at 10 a.m. or Friday at 4 p.m.? You always give 2 dates and 2 times. It is always best that the seller doesn't determine the 2 dates and times, because as you as realtors, you have family, you have other appointments, and you want them to work around those appointments. You don't ever say, well, what's best for you? If Tuesday at 10 a.m. and Friday at 4 don't work for him, then you can ask, okay, well, give me some options. And then let him be able to tell me what times work for him. If one of you have a hair appointment or somebody else has to take Tommy to a little league baseball, that's an appointment. You don't need to tell them that it's a hair appointment or you're going to have to take your son to a baseball game. That is private. And not only that, that's an appointment you don't want to move, because you're not going to get to see Tommy play in 10 years from now, and you're going to know that you missed his game. So family always comes first. I cannot stress that enough. So again, you set your appointment and have your calendar in front of you when you're getting ready to speak to a seller or a buyer. When I talk to Mr. Raymond and say, great, he tells me 10 a.m. Thursday works for him, I have a question for him. Mr. Raymond, will all decision makers be present when I meet with you? Because I've gone on listing appointments and the wife was there, but the husband wasn't. And now you're having to do the presentation all over again because the husband is the decision maker. So please make use of your time that you don't have to do it twice. So Raymond will say, well, you know what? My wife actually works during the day. So I'll say, well, I would need her to be present. So can we do an evening appointment? So will Friday at 6 p.m. work for you, or Saturday at 5 p.m. work for you? So again, make sure that all decision makers will be present. The cutest story I could tell you is when I asked the wife one time, will all decision makers be present? She said, yes, all 5 of us will be. And I said, okay, well, great. I said, okay, well, then I'll see all 5 of you at your home on Thursday. Where it was the husband and wife and the 3 kids. So they were all at the table, and I made sure the kids felt important, but of course I focused on the mom and the dad. So please make sure that you always give everybody the respect who feel like they need to be at that table. If the husband is doing the majority of the talking, you still want to make the wife feel just as important as well as the husband. Ladies, we always shake hands. We don't hug unless you know them personally. And again, we always make sure that we acknowledge both partners, whether female, male, whatever the case may be. So you show up at the home and you're early. And again, you just kind of, let me back up. So if Raymond told me on Monday he wanted me to come to his house on Thursday at 10 a.m., I would have done my homework on Raymond. I would have asked for his full name as well as his wife's name. And then I would have asked for the address. Don't just assume that you know Raymond from college and they still live at 407 Main Street. That was my first rookie mistake. I did a listing of, someone called me about selling their house. I knew the girl from high school, and I assumed she still lived at 407 Main Street, and she didn't. She had moved by then. Didn't know that and went to the wrong house. And so it was very embarrassing, but I'm just being very transparent. So don't ever assume. I cannot stress enough. I would have said, Raymond, do you still live at 407 Main Street? And let them confirm. If you're not very clear on the street name, have them spell it, because in Houston, I'm going to tell you, a lot of names are not spelled correctly, are not spelled the way we assume that they're spelled. And you're going to get, the first thing you're going to want to do is pull the tax records on it. If Raymond is calling me, but it's not his house, it belongs to his wife. His wife inherited it before they got married. It's really his wife who I need to be meeting with once I pull the tax records, but it's okay. I'm going to make Raymond feel just as important. But the wife is the one that I would be having signed the listing agreement. So just like I said, do your due diligence. The reason why I want to know who Raymond and let's just pretend Raymond's wife is named Valerie, I'm going to Google both of them. I'm also going to check their social media. I'm going to check their LinkedIn, because I want to know who I'm working with. The reason why I say that is because when I was taught that, I'll never forget, one day I was walking into the senior pilot of Continental Airlines and the wife of the president of the Houston Art Association. These were some big hitters I was walking into. So can you imagine if I had not done my homework on these people? So that's why it's so important just to find out who you're working with, and just to get some information with them. You don't need to friend them, you don't need to stalk them, but you sure need to do your homework on them, because I promise you they're going to do the same for you. So it's very important that every listing agent has a professional photo, has a bio, and also too, they're going to check your social media. So it is best to keep it separate if you're going to put all your personal business on there, and then keep a separate business so that way they know that you're a professional. Okay. All right. And lastly, there's going to be times where you're going to have a couple of days to prepare for this listing appointment. And then there's going to be times where you have literally an hour to prepare for it. So you always have to have a listing presentation ready to go on your iPad, your laptop, and so that way you can have it be able to present it. And have your equipment charged, because you can walk in with your iPad and it's not working, and that's where you're going to present on. So always have it forwarded to you, so you can always embarrassingly ask the seller if you could please use their iPad or their laptop, and then you could pretty much send show the presentation. Always have a backup. I would come in with a actual, this is not the, well, kind of my presentation used to be in a really nice binder, not like this, but a hardcore binder like this. So I always had it on my laptop and actually physical to be able to share it with them. Nowadays, everything's electronically, but always make sure you have it forwarded, because heaven forbid you just forget and run out the door and there's your laptop sitting on your desk and you've got nothing to present. So always have a backup, okay? All right, so let's get started. I'm gonna share my screen with you. All right. So I'm not able to see you right now. So just so you'll know, because of the screen, the double screens I have. So I'm going to be talking. If you have a question, or if you're not able to see the screen, please let me know. Connie or Raymond, can you unmute yourself and just let me know, do you see my listing presentation?
I do not, no.
You don't? Okay.
No.
Thank you for telling me. Okay, what about now?
There we go.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start talking like I'm talking to Raymond, who's sitting in front of me, that I'm going to be selling his home. Okay. And I'm going to set the stage for each and one of you. So I have arrived early and our appointment is at 3:15 because it's 3:16 now. And I have knocked on the door and Raymond has answered. And this is normally what I say. Hi, Raymond. I'm Veronica. Very nice to meet with you. We have a 3:15 appointment to get your home listed. It's 3:15. Thank you for welcoming me into your home. So he welcomes me in and I'll say, Raymond, okay, so tell me, where will we be meeting at so I can set my stuff down? And if you don't mind, I would love to get a tour of the home first before we get started. I'm going to pause the VCR for a second. Most people allow you to tour the home now, or they'll say, no, let's get started. I want you to present first before I show you the home. That's telling you they're going to make sure you're even hired before they want you to see the home. And that's okay. Don't get offended. Just say, sure, no problem. We can go ahead and get started now. The reason why I like to tour the home first is because I want to see what I'm up against, what I'm working with, and to be able to use that in my presentation that you're going to hear as I present it. So Raymond's very nice and he says, sure, tell you what, we're gonna meet at the coffee here in the kitchen. So set your stuff down, Veronica, and we'll get started. Great. So I always would grab my phone and record. And the reason for that is because I used to take notes and I wasn't paying attention and I'm trying to take notes. I just press record and I'll tell Raymond, if you don't mind, this is how I take notes. So I'm going to have the record button on my phone and I'm going to be talking with you. And please feel free to mention anything that you've upgraded, anything that I need to know about this home as I'm recording and taking notes. And then I want you to give me a tour of your beautiful home. And he gives me permission and we get started. So I say, Raymond, where I would like to start is outside. I want to go outside and we're going to stand at the curb of your home because buyers will pull up in their car and not want to walk in if it doesn't have the right curb appeal. So let's walk outside so I can see what your curb appeal looks like. So we'll walk outside and we stand literally at the very front of the home and we face the home. And I'll tell them, okay, Raymond, first of all, your landscaping is gorgeous. We won't have to touch the landscaping, but I definitely recommend when you list with me that our homes have beautiful curb appeal. So I noticed there's not enough mulch in the flower bed, so we can get that done. That would be great. And I don't know when the last time the windows were cleaned, but I highly recommend 2 different window cleaning companies because once the windows are clean, it makes a huge difference. And lastly, when we decide to take the professional photos, I recommend for the sidewalk, for the driveway to be watered down because it gives a wonderful effect on the pictures when we do that. Okay. And then he is listening and I told him, Raymond, I'm going to be giving you suggestions. Again, you can take them if you like, or if not, that's totally fine. But I list homes every day and I know, and I work with buyers as well. So I want to make sure that they can't wait to get into the home as soon as they pull up. So as we go into the home, then now we're walking to the foyer area and I'm like, this is a beautiful first impression of the home. As we walk into the the living room area, I noticed Raymond has over 20 different picture frames of his beautiful family. And I'm like, oh my goodness, Raymond, you have the most beautiful family I've ever seen. This is absolutely a true family home, I could tell. One of my recommendations though, Raymond, is that we start depersonalizing the home. And I noticed you have about 3 or 4 different color frames. I recommend 1 colored frame. So that way we can give it a really nice, clean look. And that way you'll be able to show off your family. I noticed you've got, 3 sons and from the time they were 5 to the time, till they're in seniors in high school, you have every picture of them. And I think that's beautiful, but it's probably best now to just probably minimize that and maybe have about 5 photos, right? Now we're walking into the kitchen and I'm like, wow, this is a beautiful kitchen. But I noticed you must love the color red. I see red all over this kitchen and wow, that's a powerful red. But Mr. Raymond, just know that the buyers that I work with normally are more attracted to neutral colors. So my other recommendation would be that we paint this kitchen. I have 3 painters that I can recommend, or you could paint it yourself, but I would recommend a neutral color for this kitchen, okay? So as we're walking through, now we're in little Tommy's room, and I'm like, wow, little Tommy must like fire trucks. There's over 5,000 of them here, and wow, this is amazing. So I said, so I would definitely love to see this room with some bins. So when little Tommy's done playing with all of his fire trucks, he can have a place to put them in, because we want this home to be able to be showroom ready. So just know, Mr. Raymond, the reason why my listings sell is because for several things. One, they're always clean. So I would definitely need the whole family to come on board and to make sure that the home is always smelling very nice. So I recommend Febreze linen is my preference. Those little refreshers and the outlets, because they don't smell like flowery. Some people, or they don't sell, if it's during the holidays, normally they have pumpkin spice. Well, people are allergic to those kind of things. So have something very simple as far as air fresheners. And the reason why my homes smell as well is because every light and every blinds are open and every curtains, because we want natural light coming in as well as the lights on. And lastly, I love to create a very nice ambiance on my listings. And by doing so, normally we ask for classical jazz music to be played while they're showing the home. So nowadays you can have the TVs on and Pandora can play everywhere. Some people have Sonos, some people have Alexa. You have so many more options now than we did back in the day to have the ambiance of a very nice setting of a home. So basically what I'm telling my seller is, when a buyer walks in this home, every light should be on, every blinds should be open, the home should smell very nice, all the beds should be made, no dishes in the sink, and Tommy's trucks all put away, because this home needs to show very nicely. If I have a seller that has overly furniture in their home, my recommendation would be for them to get a storage pod or put everything in the garage neatly, because a garage sells, yes, if it's a 3-4 car garage, but if it's a 2-car, it's going to be best that they use that for storage to declutter the home. I cannot stress enough how many people don't do that, and people can't see past the home because of all the furniture and items in the home. And some people are very sentimental to their items, and I so get that, but you're going to have to remind them that we're here to get your home sold, because we want to either upgrade you, downsize you, or get you to Chicago, whatever their circumstances is. Because when I was talking to Raymond earlier, I forgot to mention this part, sorry guys, is that we want to make sure, bear with me for a second. I want to make sure I was recording. Okay. We want to make sure that, Raymond is showing you that you're the speaker. Okay. We want to make sure that the, sorry, okay, there we go. We want to be able to make sure that the, like I said, the home looks really well, but the main thing is where they're moving to, and if they need any assistance going to a new place, because we can help them go to another place. If they're leasing, they're buying, even if they're moving to Chicago, I can ask Raymond. I will be happy to help you, put you with an agent in Chicago. That's part of my services. And by the way, that's free. So I can definitely help you with that. So keep that in mind as well. All right. Okay. So bear with me now. Okay. So now that we've spoken about everything, Raymond, give me a thumbs up that you can see my screen, sir. Thank you. Okay. All right. So now we've gone through the whole home, and now I'm sitting back at the kitchen table with Raymond. Okay. And I'm like, okay, Raymond, let's get started. So this is where I'm going to go through this presentation. So watch very carefully. All right. So Raymond, there's a few things that I'm going to be sharing with you on this presentation. I have a folder right here that I'm going to be giving to you that will have my bio, my business card, and some information in there for you, just that's informative for you to know. And then I'm going to go through every stage of this presentation. And as you can see, these are the processes that we're going to be going through. First of all, this is a bio about myself. I'm going to recommend all of you not to have such a long bio as this. I use this bio for several reasons. I use it to sell my office. I use it to sell my agents. And I also use it for my public speaking. So your bio should only be 2 paragraphs long. It should be why they should choose you as a listing agent, how you love working with sellers, marketing their home, and how you are the expert in the area, etc. The second part of the paragraph should be something personal about you. So that way they can know you're still human. They don't need to know everything personal about you, but if you served in the armed services, if you graduated from a certain college, because people like to work with people in their alumni, say what you did prior to getting into real estate. I received a lot of business from court reporters, judges, paralegals, because of the fact that I was a paralegal. I never worked with them, but because of the fact that they saw my previous profession. Okay. This right here should be inside of the folder that you give them. You're going to leave a folder with them, and this should already be in there. Why should you work with me, Raymond? Right here, this is where you're going to put that you specialize working in listings, that you, that you are partnered with the #1 real estate company. You want to put there that your office specializes in KW luxury, commercial, and farm and ranch. We don't specialize in global property anymore, but just keep that in mind. I want to see something real quick. I don't know why. Okay. But you're going to put your own criteria why they should work with you. If I was in your position today, I would put that I communicate effectively, that I have exceptional customer service. I'm able to use these criteria because I've earned them, and me being in real estate for several years. So if you haven't been in real estate that long, that's okay. You will always be updating this, this why they need to work with you, okay? Right here, it shows me that, I don't know why this little thing is right here. I want to get it out of the way. There we go. Okay. So right here, because I'm at Raymond's house right now, and I want them to see my office. I want them to know, the office that I work at. And I have over 350 agents. We've grown since this presentation. It says 330. But you notice it constantly has my address, my phone number, my website, you name it, is all right here. So that it should stay consistent throughout your whole presentation. So Mr. Raymond, just so you'll know, I have an office of 350 agents that I will be sharing my listing with, as well as the entire global Keller Williams company. So your listing will be featured from LA to New York, as well as international. So this is a huge advantage by working with me. We are the #1 real estate franchise in agent count, closed units, and sales volume. This is why I chose Keller Williams, and why you should choose me as your listing agent, because of all the presence my company has. Right here shows our accomplishments. This is slightly outdated, but just know you can always get this through any Keller Williams, from our main website, Keller Williams RI. You can Google our accomplishments, and I would create this and add that. So that way you can brag about why Keller Williams has accomplished so much. Like, we are the #1 training organization. We were on career sites. We were the #1 happiest company to work with in 2018. Entrepreneurial Magazine quoted us, acknowledged us as the top company culture. There's just a lot of different awards that we have received. Now, if you're a top producer, this is where you want to show your numbers. You know what? I'm the #3 agent in Houston, in the Spring area number 13. I have been recognized every month as the top 10 agent in listings. So this is where my experienced agents on the Zoom call today, I would acknowledge more about you. And my new agents, I would acknowledge more about the company. Because again, you're always going to add to this as you continue your growing and your successes. Keller Williams, Mr. Seller, is from LA to New York, as I explained, as well as international. So you and I are going to partner, Raymond, to sell your home. So we want to make sure everybody I may not know. So you and I are going to partner to get the home sold. And not to mention, another part of my services is if you are ever needing, or any of your family or friends are needing to move, sell, in any of these cities, states, or countries, I want to be your preferred realtor. I want to make sure you call me first or you give them my information and I will put them with the right realtor. Ladies and gentlemen, this right here, you just opened the door for referrals. You open the door for profit share for people wanting to join Keller Williams. You name it. You're letting them know anything regarding real estate in any city, state, or country. Call me first, and I will make sure I take care of whoever needs my assistance and put them with the right office, the right KW agent. And that is just part of my services, and those are free. So again, keep stressing, I want to be your preferred realtor for life. This is my favorite slide. You may want to take a picture of this. I love it because this should be in your folder. This is the roadmap for a buyer's agent and a roadmap for a seller agent, okay? And this helps the seller know what stage we're in the process of selling the home. So if you notice, right now, Mr. Seller, we're doing a needs analysis. I'm going over what you're needing. I'm seeing your home, and I'm sitting here having a consultation with you. And then we're going to go over pricing strategies of what your home should be priced at. And then we talk about staging repairs that anything needs to be done. If you're not specializing, or if you don't feel like, you know what, Veronica, if you came to my house, you could see I'm not gifted at decorating, or I may not be gifted at staging. Don't you worry. I would recommend hiring a stager for that client. They will pay for it. Or a lot of people are designers. I mean, you name it. Or some of them do so well that they can handle their own home. But it always helps to have a home staged properly. And a lot of the furniture they could use is their own, or we have stagers that have their own furniture to bring it in to make it look very attractive. And if Raymond let me know that there was a bad leak in the bathroom, I would recommend that he gets that fixed first. And then when we do the seller's disclosure, we need to make sure that we note that, because we disclose everything and we show receipts that it was taken care of. So even painting is all recommended in this stage. And then we start marketing the home. We start giving feedback and make any adjustments. We get an offer, we negotiate, we go through inspections, appraisal, coordinating vendors. We go through the closing process. We get to all the title work to the title company. We get to closing, and we fund and financial disbursement, and then we continue keeping a relationship ongoing. So this is the way the process works. And then the same thing regarding for the buyer, but just different roles are played there. But this is really nice for you to create. I created this and it works really well. And you guys can create it as well, but put your branding on it. So people like visuals, so this helps really well. So let me tell you, Mr. Raymond, how I work. My job is to educate you. I believe you're going to make a good decision when you have all the facts. My job is to give you all the best and the latest data about our market. What I do for you, many agents will list your home and do what I call the 3 Ps of real estate. They're going to place your home in MLS. They're going to place a sign in their yard, your yard, and they're going to pray that it sells. I do the 4th and the 5th P. I prospect to buyers every day. I'm going to let everyone know that your home is on the market, not only through social media, through my websites, and I'm also going to go within a 10 to 20 mile radius of businesses and schools that are in the area to go to their HR department or their school principal to let them know, can you place this flyer in the break room so people can see that this home is listed? Because again, you're being very proactive and getting this home sold. Not to mention being prospecting is doing open houses, telling the neighbors they get to pick their own new neighbor if they help me find a buyer for their home. And P is I also price watch. You should always be price watching the market on the homes that you have listed. I know for sure that HAR has a component that you could use where you could put in the home and that address or that subdivision, and you can definitely have it notify you and your seller every time a house has gone active, has gone into pending, sold, or option pending. And it's a report that you get literally every time that the activity changes in that area. And now you look like the expert because you're constantly knowing what's going on in that area, and the clients really appreciate you for doing that. So set that up through HAR when you get this listing, so that way you're keeping yourself as well as your client informed. I promise you, a lot of realtors don't use that feature on HAR, and you definitely need to take advantage of it. How I keep in touch, Mr. Raymond, is by email, voicemail, text, whatever you prefer. I will use whatever method that are best for you to communicate at least once or twice a week. If questions should come up at any time, feel free to call me, email me, or text me. And if I'm meeting with a client at the time, I'll call you back and email you or text you immediately after my appointment. How I handle tough information as a fiduciary and a consultant, I have to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being brutally honest and 1 being say nothing, how would you like me to handle information that you may not want to hear? That is so important, because they may be showing the home and they notice that Raymond's got 3 cats in his home and it smells like cats in the home. And you noticed it and you told Raymond that the carpet needed to be shampooed and they needed to spray air freshener every day when they left and change the cat litter. And he's not doing that. Well, we start getting the feedback through showing time that that home doesn't smell as nice. And so Raymond's, I find out right now my expectations. How does he like to get information? And if he says just be 10 brutally honest, I will let him know. Times if he tells me to say nothing, basically I would still say it seems to be the cat still the issue, and leave it as that, because he knows what I'm talking about, but not go any further. This is important to know too, because when I'm dealing with the husband and wife or partners or whatever the case may be, if I'm trying to reach that seller and we've got a cash offer and we've got to respond within 10 hours, I need to know, how can I get a hold of you so we can, I can get an approval to move forward. If the husband is the decision maker and I need to let the wife is letting me know she's got to let the husband know, we want to make sure that we know how to contact who's the decision maker. And if they're not, could the wife make the decision so we can move forward? Excuse me. Any questions so far? And please unmute yourself so I can take a drink of my tea. And unmute yourself because I can't see the chat box. I'm so sorry.
I have a question, Veronica.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So it's about prospecting for buyers. So when you have a listing, you cannot represent the buyer, like you cannot represent both sides, right?
Very good question. I don't recommend it. Let me explain why. Because now you're wearing too many hats and you're going into intermediary, and now now you're advising, and you're not giving your full fiduciary duties to your seller. I would recommend for you to refer that buyer to another agent in the office. And this is how I would do it. You can do it anyway. You can have that agent take the full 3% and call it a day, because technically you would have gotten 6% had you handled both. But you cannot advise, and the seller's going to look at you like, okay, well, you're just handling facilitating. Why do I have you then? Because you're supposed to give me advice. You're supposed to do recommendations. There's so much that you're not going to be able to do, because now you're representing both and you know both information. So, and you can't share that information with either or. So it just puts you in a very sensitive, high risk liability position. So if I were you, I would give that to Tammy, right? I would team up with a really good agent and say, Tammy, I'm willing to give this buyer and put it in your lap if you're willing to do this deal for 2%, and then you make 4% from the deal. Or if you're willing to do it for 1% and then you would have done 5%. Because then the reason why I say that is because you can say, I'm going to do the majority of it. You just need to take care of this client and get them to closing. Make sure you have any questions for them, but I'm going to handle everything normally that both of us would be doing, but I would handle the majority of it because I'm only paying you 1%. But you're going to be that agent's, that client, that buyer's client. Tammy could use that client Tammy can have that buyer as a client or as a customer. But the whole point is he's being represented, and that's all that matters. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
For you not to do both, because it's just going to put you in a very tight situation and you're going to be limited.
Okay.
because I've been there before. Where I've had a seller tell me, I'm trying to understand then what best interest of heart do you have for me then if you're representing both sides? So I would rather give it over to the agent and let them handle it. A lot of times I wasn't willing to do all of it. So look, I'll take care of my seller, you take care of that buyer, and we'll do it at 2.5% because that's you're compensating me for giving you a client on your lap. So yes, ma'am, you can do it either way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I just don't recommend it. I would have it handed over. All right. So Mr. Seller Raymond, this is what you do control and what you don't control. This is so important. You control, Mr. Raymond, the property condition. Remember, I told you keeping it clean, having it showroom ready, smelling nice. You control updating any updates, any amenities. You have to make sure that the home is available for showing. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll be so surprised how people will call me and tell me, Veronica, your listing at 407 Main Street has declined the showing 4 times today. So I'll call up Raymond. I'll be like, Raymond, what's going on, buddy? I noticed we're trying to get this home sold, but you declined 4 showings. Raymond's like, yeah, you know what? I wasn't feeling it. I know you told me keep the house clean, Veronica. And then next Saturday, they want to see the house. Well, that's little Tommy's birthday party. And then the other day, you know what? I just couldn't run home fast enough to put away the cats. Okay, so you're setting the stage right now to tell Raymond, I'm going to need you to make this property available because remember, we're trying to get this home sold. And buddy, I'm going to need you to work with me and make sure that you make availability to make sure that the home is going to be shown. And you control the list price. At the end of the day, I'm going to tell you what the market is and what I recommend, but you're going to make the decision on what the list price is going to be. You're going to be responsible for the curb appeal, Raymond. Remember, keeping the grass cut, watered, plants nicely looking nice. A lot of people may not have a green thumb, but you can go to At Home. It used to be Garden Ridge, and they sell fake plants. Get some pretty flowers, put them in a pot, and it looks like nice flowers. You can be so creative to show some curb appeal. And lastly, you're responsible for the home warranty on this home. I recommend all my sellers get a home warranty when we list it. So while we have the home listed, and let's say, unfortunately, there's a water leak in the bathroom, well, the home is taken care of by that home warranty. And then when we buy that home warranty, we can always transfer it to the new buyer. All right. What the seller factors don't control, what you don't control, Raymond, is the location of your home and the school district. This is the home you and your beautiful wife selected, and it's staying put. We're not picking up this house and moving it. So we can't determine nothing else. The recent activity of what's sold and what has been active in this neighborhood, we have no control over that. What if it's a buyer's or a seller's market, we have no control over. What the interest rates, we have no control over. And when the perfect buyer walks through that door. So when I'm telling them this, I'm setting the stage. Now, how I market your home is I'm going to give you a price guidance and staging advice. I'm going to put your home into MLS. I'm going to install nationally recognized yard sign in your home so that way it can grab attention. I'm going to provide information on the property flyer. I'm going to prepare advertising and a virtual tour. If you're not going to opt for that, then make sure you don't have that on your listing, okay? I'm going to put it on YouTube, on social media outlets. I'm going to do a mass email to all of my KW agents that this house is listed. I'm going to hold an open house, and I will be reviewing contracts and represent you in the negotiations. What you are responsible for is completing and repairing all the repairs, keeping the house clean, staging, hiding valuables, and also prescriptions. Nowadays, guys, I'm going to tell you, a family walks in the home, the wife will go in one direction and the husband will go in the other direction and the kids will go in a different direction. And you have to be able to keep an eye on everybody, right? And not all buyer agents do that. So please make sure your clients put away all valuables, even their mail, have them put it away. But more so now in this day of age, prescriptions have been taken from homes. So please be extremely careful. I'm going to make sure that keeping all marketing information out. Call me if information is depleted. If your flyers are out, call me to let me know so I can get those replaced. Call me with any questions, refer friends. Refuse to discuss terms with prospective buyers or their agents. Let me explain. I've had a lot of buyers walk up to my seller's home and say, I noticed you're looking to sell a home. Tell me, do you mind if I walk in and look at the home? you want to tell them, I am so sorry, but my listing agent, Veronica Bearfield, that's part of our agreement. She doesn't want anyone in the home unrepresented. So either you could call her and schedule an appointment, or if you have a realtor, you can call them and schedule an appointment. The reason why I say that is because you don't know who that person is walking into your home. And for security reasons, your 18-year-old daughter may open that door, and we don't want anything to happen to her. So please be very careful, guys. And I'm just sharing experiences from clients that I worked with. And the other reason why you don't want them to go into that home is because now they're like, oh my God, I love it. I want to buy it. I know it's listed for $215. I'm going to give you $200. Let's just do it. And you know what? We're going to cut out the realtors, and it's going to save you money. You don't want to do that neither. One, because we've earned our job. And two, you want to be able to tell them that we don't even know who this person is. We don't want any time wasted. We want to pre-qualify them. We want to make sure they're a legitimate buyer. So it's in our best interest when you sign this listing agreement with me that you're hiring me to protect you, to work on your behalf, and to have your best interest. Okay. And if realtors will tend to be sneaky, you know, they're not with KW, but they tend to try to talk to the seller. And no, that's a no-no. That is violating our code of ethics. And we can report them to TREC for doing that. So we want to forewarn our seller uphand what can happen and what they need to do. If an agent comes up to them and talks to them, you want to be able to tell them, I'm so sorry. My listing agent is Veronica Bearfield with Keller Williams, and you need to deal with her directly. She will handle all communication. Unfortunately, you are not allowed. She's not allowing you to be able to speak with me. Or I made that rule, and I only want my agent to discuss with other agents. Okay. So keep that in mind. Let me show you, I'm going to be giving out little stories that have happened to me, where one day I had 7 multiple offers on one of my listings. And one of the agents was determined to get this home for her client. She thought it was okay for her to show up at my seller's home and let them know that she was one of those 7 multiple offers, and every reason why they should pick her offer. And she shouldn't have done that. And so the clients contacted me and let me know. So you would be very surprised what an agent will go to do in desperation. And I had to contact that agent and let her know that that's not what we do. They're being considered, and I wish her luck. And I hope, regardless, my clients is going to go with the best offer. But prepare your client just for the worst, or just for what can happen, so they're not sidetracked. So let's talk about marketing, Mr. Seller. I'm going to market your home on over 350 search engines. This is something Keller Williams does automatically when you put it into HAR. As you can see, not every 350 search engine is on this, but this is part of my marketing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can say that I have a team, my marketing team. I used to say that all the time. Well, it was the $70 a month I was paying to KW. I didn't have a marketing team. It was HAR. It was KW who put it on HAR that put my listing on all of these social media. But it sounds so nice to say your marketing team, because that's really what we're doing for you as part of KW. So take advantage of that, because now everyone is looking on the web for on a home. So this is why we give them so much web exposure. This is a very valuable slide on the presentation, because of the fact most brokerages don't offer this. So this is a huge advantage you have. By the way, Mr. Seller, I will create flyers and brochures for your home. This gives you an example of what these will look like. Ladies and gentlemen, Command has wonderful flyers that you can create for your listings. Michael Lewis Marketing Suite has those available for you as well. So just know you want to be able to show an example of what your flyers will look like. Part of my services is staging. If you're not going to be able to provide that, that's okay. But I recommend that you get 3 stagers that you interview and you see their work, because you're going to need 3 people in your pocket to be able to help if a listing needs help staging and decorating, okay? Just so you know, 81% of buyers are more willing to walk through a home they viewed online because the pictures look excellent and the staging looks phenomenal. If you look at this picture right here, you notice how decluttered it is. Look how clean it is. This is the way the home should look when somebody walks through it. 46% will positively impact the value of the home if it is decorated to the buyer's taste. This is what I mean by Mr. Raymond having his kitchen red. We needed to make that a neutral color. Most agents are afraid to tell somebody that, no, yeah, it's red. Oh, it's an eyesore. You notice the way I walked into that kitchen and I told him, wow, this is a powerful red. I made a negative into a positive. But I said, I told him, Mr. Raymond, just know I work with buyers every day. And I can tell you the kitchens that are selling the most are with neutral colors, and again, let them know you've got 3 people that you could recommend to get that painted. All right. So, and again, if you don't offer this, then just recommend staging, because you want to be the expert in the industry and be able to provide additional services for them. My other part of my marketing team, they'll take care of a photography for you. So we're going to have your home professionally photographed, and we will do a video tour. And if the home is empty, my team also provides virtual staging. So like this home right here, it's empty. It has a fireplace, but they put a picture as if it was on, and that's virtual. That's not real furniture. But when they come to the home, it is empty. And that's why on the marketing, I put the home is virtually staged, because I'm not misleading. I'm just letting them know that they're going to walk into a home, but they've at least gotten a feel of what that home could look like with some great furniture. And then, of course, an aerial shot and then videography. Most of my listings, if they were over 200,000, they got a virtual and a aerial shot. My luxury listings always had that. So just keep that in mind. Nowadays, you can walk through the whole home with your cell phone or somebody recording you. Recommend that. That's very cost effective. But just know that I highly recommend a professional photographer. Some of the things I want to mention to you, you could write this down. My favorite window cleaning company is called Love My Windows, or I Love My Windows, something like that. They're here, I think, in Spring, or I know they're north of Houston. I love that they're a husband and wife owned. So very affordable. They clean my office windows here and my home. Highly recommend it. And I've not get 2 other window cleaning companies. The other people that I used to use for photography, we have plenty of photographers now, but my favorite one still is Love My Listings. They do a really good, they do virtual staging, which a lot of them don't do that, okay? So you can definitely take advantage of those people as well. All right. Now, Mr. Seller, me and my team, or myself, remember, you can always have a team. We do open houses at a 7th level. Most agents do open houses on the 1st and 2nd level. We do them on the 6th and 7th level. So if you can read this, just know level 1 just puts a sign in the yard that they're having an open house. Level 2 puts a sign in the yard with balloons and a rider. Level 3, they have directional signs at every corner of the entry into that subdivision. They put balloons, riders, and a sign in the yard. Level 4, flyers the week before. They send out an email invite. They post on social media. They have directional signs at every entry level into that subdivision, balloons, riders, and a sign in the yard. Level 5, they invite over 100 neighbors. They walk the neighborhood. They put flyers the week before. They put it all over social media. They put directional signs at every entry level into that home. And they put balloons in the yard and a sign. Level 6, they get on the phone the morning of and remind everybody that they're doing an open house. They invite over 100 neighbors. They do the flyers, the social media, the directional signs, the balloons, and the yard signs. Level 7 is when you team up with other realtors, whether they're Keller Williams or not. And I call this the Showcase of Homes open house. That means there's 4 open houses in the same subdivision, and everybody has done the exact same thing. You have masses coming in, and everybody gets a chance to see your open house. So I would normally do that maybe once a quarter on the level 7, and then I would do level 5 and level 6. Every other weekend for this particular home. When you list your home, I highly recommend you do it the weekend that it goes live, because that shows a lot of momentum and can easily get your home sold. A lot of times, the buyer is not going to buy the home that they see, but they're going to end up buying a home and they're going to probably use you as a realtor. So it's a good prospecting to get buyers by doing open houses. Keep in mind, the number one question every time somebody walks into your open house is, are you working with a realtor? A lot of my buyers tend to have amnesia and they forget that they work with that they have a realtor. Please be careful to double check to say, okay, so you don't have a realtor, Raymond? Have you signed anything with the realtor? Oh, you know what? Is that what I did? Is that those pieces of paper I signed? Okay, yes, okay. Well, Raymond, unfortunately, I cannot show you any homes because you are in an agreement with another realtor, and it's like an attorney. You're represented, sir, and I cannot violate my code of ethics. So, sir, you would have to work with your realtor. But just know I'm available for anyone else that you know that needs a realtor. If he says, well, Veronica, you know what? I'm not happy with my realtor. If you don't mind, I'd rather work with you. I'm so sorry to hear that, Raymond. But until your agreement with that realtor has been terminated, I won't be able to help you. But just here's a flyer of the home. And again, thank you for stopping by. And if you will contact me when that termination is terminated, that's fine. But in the meantime, if you know of anybody who's be interested in this home, please give them my information and keep it short and simple. We don't sit there and go into a rampage of what's wrong with your realtor and everything you could think of. We do not dog our other colleagues in this industry. We have a culture that we uphold. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the blueprint strategy I have for you, Raymond. So I always pre-qualify every contract that comes into this home. Let me tell you what I mean by that. So every time I got an offer on any of my listings, I would have on the agent remarks this criteria. I would put, if you're going to submit an offer, I would put, if my seller is going to pay the title policy, what we would recommend, what title company we would prefer. And we say prefer legally, we got to be careful. We don't put the actual title name. They don't let us anymore. But the reason why I say is we would prefer to choose the title company because I want to close at a very reputable title company. I want to close with the representative that I'm very familiar with that would take care of my client as well as the buyer's client. Because don't just feel like title company, because they charge less fees, that's the best route that they're going to go, or because somebody knows them. I'm going to tell you, I have an agent right now that closed with ABC Realty, and I'm just saying a no-name title company, excuse me, and we're still waiting for this commission check because they don't have the funds to pay this agent through their own escrow account. That's very scary. We're having to get our attorneys involved because of that. That's not a good thing, guys. So please make sure that you select where, and you should open title anyway. When you get a listing, you should open title to make sure we don't have any issues with who owns this property. If there's any judgments on this property, we want to make sure that we open title first. And so that's a good start to get things going. So here comes the contract on the home, and on my agent remarks, I put that I want that if the seller's going to be paying for the title policy, we prefer to pick the title company, our preferred title company, that the contract has to be fully filled out, that the amendments need to be fully filled out, because you'll be surprised how things are not filled out. And that we could also state that certain things that we prefer, like we'll pay for a home warranty up to $400, that or that we have already a home warranty on the home, and that it is Supra home warranty, and that we'll be happy to transfer over that $500 warranty to the new buyer. They don't have to select it, but again, we're willing to pay for it if they use ours. The other thing I would recommend is that we can be very specific to say that we prefer to close on this property prior to February, 5th, or we'll pay 5% bonus, $2,000 bonus to if you're able to close before February 28th. You can put things like that. But the main thing is you have to submit a pre-approval letter or proof of funds. So if somebody's putting me an offer on Raymond's house and they say that it's a cash offer, Great. I need to see a proof of funds attached to that offer. What that means is I need a letter from the bank, or I need a letter from their financial advisor, or I need a copy of their bank statement with everything marked out of that's important, like the account number, the address. I just need the name of the individual, and then to be able to show his balance. I don't need to see other activity. That's why it's so much better to get it from their financial advisor or their banker at Chase Bank, Bank of America. And it normally says this, you know, Raymond Pratt's has the funds, you know, we have confirmed funds of 150,000 available to purchase a home at 407 Main Street. Okay, it may not have the address, but it may say just we have confirmed that he has availability for 150,000. Okay, then once we get that pre-approval letter, or we get that proof of funds, you know, I'm picking up the phone now and I'm calling that Bank of America. And this is where I pre-qualify. Hi, Mr. Jones, this is Veronica Bearfield. I'm calling on behalf of Keller Williams. You have a client named Raymond Pratt, and he is purchasing a home, and he is one of your customers that bank there at Bank of America. I just need to confirm that this letter by, you know, Mr. Jones is legitimate, and that you do have a customer named Raymond Pratt, and that he does have 150,000 in his account to purchase this home. I don't need to know his credit score. I don't need to know any information. And should they even tell you that, you need to say, I'm so sorry, I don't need to know. That is personal and private information, and you shouldn't even be giving that to me. All I'm asking is, does Raymond Pratt exist at this bank, and is this letter legitimate? If I was calling a loan officer, I'd be doing the exact same thing. Hello, Mr. Loan Officer. This is Veronica Bearfield. I just personally want to introduce myself because it looks like you have a buyer that you pre-qualified. His name is Raymond Pratt, and I just need to confirm this pre-approval letter. And then that way I have your contact information and you have mine, so we can have a smooth process to the closing table. And then let him talk. Because one of my experiences is I've made that same phone call, and Wells Fargo stated, no, we don't have a client named Jeffrey Jones. He doesn't have a bank account here. So that letter was fraud. Okay, so that's why we have to be extremely careful. Most agents will just take that pre-approval letter, it looks legitimate, and keep moving along. I pre-qualify my buyers because I want to make sure that this buyer is legitimate before they waste my seller's time. Okay, and that is a huge benefit that I used to offer my clients that they were very thankful for. And this is strictly to prevent any issues of financing following through after we've executed a contract. And if there's any more offers on the table, I suggest that we take them as backup offers. We handle all the negotiations. So I want to make sure that we are definitely justifying the offer price. So when I was a buyer's agent, and when I submitted an offer, you knew this was a Veronica Bearfield offer, because let me tell you why. It was the contract fully filled out. It was the approval letter. And then it was the comps, because I wanted to let you know I'm not insulting you while I'm offering 205 when this house is listed for 215. Help me justify, because I'm representing my buyer, and I want to make sure that we're offering in the range of what the market is like. So be ready, because a buyer agent may do that for you, and that's okay. So when you list the home, you're going to have to justify your comps. So please make sure. And we also want to make sure we always have a backup lender. That is so important. And the reason for that is because if heaven forbid this buyer fall out because of a lender, that's why we should offer Keller Mortgage. We should offer AMCAP. You have to be ready to have your own loan officers ready to go. And that's not even your job, but that shows you're doing your due diligence. And not to mention, it also shows that you're doing some amazing work to make sure that this deal does not fall apart. I see that they're putting in stuff in the chat box. If you are, you can unmute yourself and ask me your questions, and I'll stop for just a second. And let me see something real quick. Oh, y'all are just making, can you show the previous slide? Jolinda, are you still on with me?
I am. It was way back where you
I'm
were.
so sorry. Okay, so let me
It's
go
okay.
real quick. Tell me when to
You were
stop.
standing. It was you had it had a picture of you. I think before that one. Before no one more. No, I guess not. One more.
I think it's back.
You were
back
standing.
three. Back
You were
three more.
standing. There was a picture of you.
Yeah, I think it's back 3 more.
Yeah, a little bit more.
One more here.
That's it. Give me
Flyers and the
1 second. Thank you.
You're welcome, sweetie
I
pie.
do have a question or statement rather. I have heard in just talking with another agent a while back, she was saying something like commenting to me about how another agent had, this was like a deal she had going on. But anyways, that other agent called the lender of her client, right? And to like just like you said, to just verify that the client was approved or pre-approved and all that kind of stuff. But she was like really offended by it.
And they're going to be, and that's okay. Because you know why most people don't do that, and they think we're asking for personal information, and we're not. We have every right to ask to verify that that individual's legit, and that person is, that bank actually exists, because anybody can drop an approval letter and put a logo. We're just protecting our client, and I would question that agent to say, well, not necessarily question, because we want to take the higher road, but we want to say, I'm so sorry that I'm offending you, because I'm basically doing my due diligence, and this is part of the services that I offer. I just want to reassure you that I'm only just verifying that this buyer exists and that this lender exists. That's all I want to know. I don't want to know how much he actually really qualified for, because 9 times out of 10, the letter's going to say 250, but they actually get approved for 275, and that's okay. I don't need to know his credit score. I don't need to know how much he makes. And I think some people think that. And I think, unfortunately, some of the realtors have taken advantage of this process and started asking more questions. All I need to know is 2 things. And by the way, here's my contact information, because if we do move forward, I want to make sure if there's anything I can help you in on my end regarding my seller, not the buyer, because that's not my responsibility or my business for that matter. Yes, ma'am. But yes, so they will get offended, and because that's happened, and because I've called, and then I've gotten where the lender has gotten offended, and I said, oh no, sir, the only reason I'm doing this is for my due diligence, and so that's all the only 2 things I need from you, and just know this is from previous experience, because I've had somebody where they didn't exist, and if I had not done this process, my client would have been unfortunately in a horrible situation. And then he kind of understood. And I was like, okay, but let me tell you, when I remembered that lender, I thought, if I ever have to cross him, run past him again, I would be like, okay, let me just be careful, because, if he was questioning that, what else do I need to question about him? So luckily I never had to do business with him again. But yes, you're going to run into that, and that's okay. It's just a matter of just helping him understand.
Honestly, I've done it once, to be honest, on a listing that I had. And the reason why is because my seller was really, really worried. He just really, it was like the beginning of the shutdown pandemic stuff. So he's really worried it wasn't going to sell, or the buyer was going to, drop out or whatever. And I had called, and I don't know if this is wrong with me, but I asked, how strong is this buyer? Is this a really strong buyer? Like as far as income, credit, is there any chance that they won't get approved? Because my seller was really, really worried. And then this was actually a sale I worked with, an agent, a Keller Williams agent, who actually referred me to you guys, to you. And she and I, my seller ended up choosing their offer, and that's how she and I got to know each other.
Oh, how nice.
And I'm glad I called.
Yes, absolutely. but we have Patrick Morales on the, I see, he's saying lenders can verify, but not give out private information. And yes, and great lenders don't, again, that's what I'm saying. They don't mind us asking if we just are very basic with the questions.
General.
Now, by
yeah.
you asking if like, is he a strong, yeah, you were probably crossing the line a little bit, but yet you were just concerned for your seller. And you could say, hey, I'm going to ask this question because my seller's really concerned. And you can just say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer that. And I would so respect that. Me personally, I probably would not have asked it, but don't get me wrong. I've been in your situation where I started asking a little bit more because I was a little concerned because of the wife not being on the loan. But yeah, we shouldn't ask anymore. I mean, the only thing we should really be asking is if it's legitimate. That's
Legit.
it. This individual
Gotcha.
exists, and are you the point of contact? And is this letter coming from the right people I'm calling? Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Got you. Thank you.
Veronica,
Yes, ma'am.
quick question.
Yeah.
So me and our KW mascot is here.
Woo-hoo!
Um,
Levi.
I see that this is being recorded. Where can we see this after and when? Because I want to go back and re-listen, and there's so many of your slides that are phenomenal. And do we have to create these ourselves, or is there somewhere we can get them?
Okay, so yes, it is being recorded. And Miss Connie, are you still on the call, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, I
Okay,
am. Can you hear me?
make sure that it's being recorded? Because I don't see where it's being recorded.
No, I can see that it's being recorded.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
And so it should be available 24 to 48 hours. And then it comes to me and I send it to Leo, and Leo sends it, gets it, does what his magic and sends it to Phoenix. So about 48 hours from now, we'll have it available. And I'll talk to you about if we want to do a big send out, or if we want to just put it on the intranet somewhere.
yes, okay. So
Okay.
thank you, Miss Connie. So to
Sure.
answer your other question, Miss Kathy, this is my listing presentation. I don't mind you borrowing it. Like, for instance, you can pretty much, you're gonna have to, like you notice my logo's on there. A lot of certain slides have my picture on it. You can pretty much create it yourself, right? Because it is copyrighted, because it belongs to me. But I recommend for you contacting Valerie Davis, and I can give you her phone number. And then Connie, you can put it in the message box for me. But the reason why I say that is, one second, she does amazing customized listing presentations.
Okay.
Okay. And she did this one for me. So I gave her the content and she put it together with the pictures and the whole 9 yards. Yes. And then she can create a logo for you. Like she did that with my name. You see that? The colors, she picked out the purple and white colors. I would have never thought about that. It's all about presentation. So whatever your colors, whatever your logo is, yes, I think she does it for roughly about $100. Don't quote me, because she's done this a very long time ago for me. Her phone number is 281-780-0616. And I would either text her or call her and leave her a message. She also does transaction coordinating. So if anybody needs that, let me know. But as far as a listing, does Valerie Davis work for KW? Yes, she does. But she is, she's a transaction coordinator, and she also is an agent. But I think she practices very little, but she does an amazing listing presentation. And she can help you with logos. She can help you with marketing, those kind of things. If she's not available, because she kind of tends to work in small groups, and she may just say, you know what, I've got a group of 10 I'm working with right now. I want to focus on them. Let me know, and she could definitely help you with other marketing pieces. Yes, somebody's asking, does she do bios? I think she does. If I'm not mistaken, I can almost guarantee you she does. If not, she would be good to just reach out, because she has so many resources. She works with other transaction coordinators and marketing people that she can probably put you with somebody that does. Yes, ma'am.
I have another question related to marketing. How about open house signs, how many do we need and where's the best place to get them done?
Absolutely. So Connie, write this in there. I recommend Mark Berlin. He does some really good open house signs. His number is 310. Bear with me, hold on. I just had his number. Oh, here it is. Yeah, 310-702-9597. You there, Connie? 310-702-9597. That's Mark. Mark can do your open house signs, your yard signs. He can create logos for you. He does all print work. Yes.
Yeah, he did my headshot, so I have his contact information.
Perfect. Yep. And
How
then
many-
also too, I recommend to always get 2 different quotes, right? I like that he's in-house. He makes them really good. Tell him, you know what, I want to go the inexpensive route, or hey, I want to go for the good quality. You can decide and just let him know what your budget is. But it always looks really nice when your yard sign match your open house signs,
Right.
and it just is a nice flow. I recommend, your logo to be on everything, or your picture, or if not, just your name consistently. Yes, sir. And please make sure you look like your picture. That's so important, because us agents in the industry, we tend to grow a little older and then it changes. Yes. All right. Perfect. Okay. But yes, you can take screenshots. I'm going to be able to share this with you. I just don't have this in edible form because again, it's copyrighted. So you can borrow it and then just type this up on a Word document and use it in your presentation, Miss Kathy, and anyone that was asking.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I don't mind sharing it with you. I just have to keep it copyrighted, please, because it's still mine. Thank you.
I totally understand. No, I didn't want to use the Veronica Bearfield beautiful signature there.
No. But you can use everything else, but you do understand, right? You can use from blueprint all the way down to right here. You can
Yes.
even use this. Yes, ma'am. But again, you would just
More
make
about
it
the
your own.
information that you provide. I like the information you provide.
Good. Okay, perfect. All right. So the other thing is the appraisal. So be ready, ladies and gentlemen, because as we list our homes, you're going to know that there's an appraiser that's going to come to the home, and we've got to make sure that we list all the improvements. We have to make sure that we have our comps ready to help us justify why we're listing it the way we're listing it. That is so important. And then that you're constantly going to be checking in with all parties. Just think that just because you're the listing agent, everyone's going to do their job. You're going to be very surprised. There's times where I felt like no one should have earned a commission but me, because you basically did all the work. But you know what? That's just this industry. It's okay. You're going to get other buyer's agents that you're going to be like, wow, these people were amazing. And it was worth working with them, and they earned their 3% just like you did. So just keep that in mind too. Okay. So you're going to be checking in with the title company, the lender, the buyer's agent, the seller. You're going to make sure that everything is bulletproof, so that way nothing falls apart. We're going to be preparing the offer. Mr. Seller, when I submit an offer to you, what I normally do, ladies and gentlemen, is I get the offer, and then I do a seller's net sheet exactly with everything that offer has on it. And then I tell them, this is how much you're going to net. And then I do another seller's net sheet and I say, this is what I recommend we counter offer so you can net this. And sometimes I've received offers and we did a seller's net sheet and I'm like, no, sir, this is good to go. Let's go with this one,
Veronica,
Yes, ma'am.
I am so sorry. I hate to stop you again, but twice now I've heard you say that we recommend, and I have been told that we never recommend anything by several agents, that we don't recommend, we just give them the facts and let them make their own decision.
No, ma'am. Hold on, Miss Kathy, 1 second. I'm going to need you to handle it. So let somebody cover for you. And then once I'm done, I'll run in there. So take your time. No, but still do it in an hour. And then the tour too, please. Okay, thank you. Oh, and by the way, remember, she used to be with us. So she's very familiar.
Okay,
with
yeah,
everything. Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, Miss Kathy, if I heard you correctly, you said that if you get an offer, that you just give it to your seller and then you let them make the decision.
Well, actually, I'm talking more in a couple of different respects, that at the beginning of this is when we are doing the comps and we give them the comps. We tell them basically a range or what we feel like, would be a good listing price, but we never recommend a listing price. We let them do it themselves. We let them tell us what they want. Can you just kind of expound a little bit?
I would be more than happy to, absolutely. So let me say this, okay. So if I was listing Mark's house, right? Raymond's house, sorry. If I was listing Raymond's house, and I would let him know, I would say, Raymond, let me ask you a question. What do you think your house is, that you would like, if you had to pick a price, Mr. Raymond, what would you like to list it at? And then I'm going to share with you, Raymond, what the market is telling me I need to list it at. So Raymond's, and then I said, and then by the way, Raymond, I want us to consider the hardwood floors all on the first floor. I want us to consider that backyard pool you just put in. And so he's going to say, well, I think, Veronica, we should list our house at 250,000. And I said, okay, I can still respect that. Mr. Raymond, the market is telling me that this house should be listed for 215. And but again, keep in mind, I'm talking houses that just sold 2 months ago, all had pools. A house that's on the market right now is pending that has a pool, and it was for 215. So if we go at 250, Mr. Raymond, we're going to be way above the market, and we're going to be overpriced, and we'll be the most expensive house in the neighborhood. So my recommendation to you is, why don't we start at 220? And if we don't get any bites, then we'll reduce it to 215, if you're okay with that. And then, yes, that's where you're saying, Kathy, they get to make the decision.
Right.
And then we get to make the decision if we still want to list the home, because if he says, nope, I'm stuck on 250, I said, okay, well, Raymond, I would love to be your listing agent, but I would want to meet you halfway. By meeting me halfway, Raymond, I'm willing to list the home for 250. And if we get no offers, and I always say offers because showings may work, but offers in the first 2 weeks, sir, we're going to reduce it to the 215 that I recommend, or the 220 that I recommended. And we'll sign an amendment. So that way, when in 2 weeks, I won't have to call you to tell me, okay, to convince you to change it, we might as well do it now, because there's no need for me to market this house for 2 weeks and it's the most overpriced house. So
Right.
That's why you, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to learn how to have those conversations. If there's any class I recommend you take, it's called Fierce Conversation. Connie, write that in the, I'm going to be bringing that class here, hopefully in the next 3 to 6 months. But if you find that class being held anywhere else with KW, it's called Fierce Conversation. That's where I learn to have these conversations like this, because they're uncomfortable, but you need to be able, I'm going back and forth with Raymond, and I should be able just to say, hey, it's either this or this. And that's why I tell them, okay, I'll meet you halfway if you're willing to reduce in 2 weeks. If we don't have an offer, because you're going to see in just a little bit, a good house that's right, shows great, I promise you gets an offer in its first 2 to 3 weeks. I just sold my house. My house got an offer in 24 hours because I knew exactly what I needed to price it at and how it needed to show. And again, the photographer is the most important thing. Oh, by the way, FYI, I have another really good photographer for you, because he's the one who just did my house. Derek Bryant. Write that down. Derek Bryant. Phone number is 281-799-8288. He is a fabulous listing photographer, and he's a fabulous headshot photographer, lifestyle photo shoot photographer for your business, and a family portrait photographer.
Veronica, could you please repeat that?
Sure. Derek Bryant, 281-799-8288. He is a professional listing photographer. He does lifestyle shoots. So if you wanted to go to a model home and take different outfits and do different scenes, so for your marketing purposes, if you wanted to do a casual photo shoot for a community event, if you wanted to do a family portrait, you could go there. He does all of that. So, but he just recently did my home, and I forgot that he does listings. Mark Berlin, who we gave the number earlier, he also does headshots and he does listings. So they're both great. Again, remember, I'm trying to put as many people in your pocket just in case you need them. Okay. But I got the most compliments ever because of those photos of my home. So FYI. All right. So Mr. Seller, when you get prepare an offer, this is how we're able to, I do my due diligence and let you know if what you would net. I don't know how many agents I know where they get an offer, they have a listing and they give it to their clients and then they say, okay, here you go. And the first question that seller asks is, what am I going to net? So do a seller's net sheet. They have them on hard. All the title companies have them. You just get that little app and then you plug in the numbers and it will tell you how much your seller is going to net. Okay. Now, Mr. Seller, we get to decide if we're going to accept it, we're going to reject it, we're going to counter offer or no action. This part right here is so important. Okay. Now, I don't like the last one, but the seller has every right not to do nothing with it. So I like to tell my sellers, we're either going to accept it, reject it, or we're going to counter offer. That's the least we could do to the buyer. So that way they know what we want to do. All right. Okay. 1 second. Oh, Miss Larissa, do you have my signature block?
I could do that.
Yeah,
Okay,
that would be great. That would be more ideal, please. And then let me know. All right. So, Mr. Seller, I want to forewarn you that there's going to be an inspection on your home when we get a qualified buyer. And so they're going to go through your home with a fine-tooth comb. And I want to forewarn you right now, Mr. Seller, they're going to find everything wrong with your home. So I don't want you to get offended because that's that inspector's job to find everything wrong. So that way the buyer can know what they're buying. And then they're going to probably negotiate repairs. And they're going to definitely ask us to repair them. We're going to get several choices. We're going to say yes. We're going to say we'll repair only the sink and the roof, or we're just going to give you an allowance. So we get that choice. But if you want, Mr. Seller, you can hire any inspection company right here and they can come do their pre-inspection on the home and get that out the way. So that way we can at least prepare the stuff, fix the stuff that may already cause an issue. A lot of these people here, guys, back in the day, I don't even think they're in business anymore. So be careful with that. So, but you saw how I provided information. So use your own inspectors. We have plenty new ones here at the office. So I recommend that. So just know I'm just kind of educating them on inspections and educating them because I've gotten so many sellers back in the day when I was a rookie who would get offended because these inspectors gave this thick of a report and they just felt like this is ridiculous. My house is not condemned. It's not. It's just their job to find everything wrong with it. So forewarn them in advance. So I cannot stress that enough. Okay. We talked about home warranties, Mr. Seller. I recommend we have a home warranty on the home. These are some really good home warranties here. I personally like Fidelity National Home Warranty. I don't think Lynn's there anymore, but they do a really good home warranty. My other favorite home warranty is 210. Amber's not there neither. My other favorite warranty is Super Home Warranty. That's what I have on my new home that I just purchased. And that's Tamika Botwell, I think is her name. So just keep that in mind. Let's talk about pricing. This is my favorite slide. So Mr. Seller, selling is very important on our timing. So this is a good visual, Mr. Seller, because this is extremely important in the real estate market. Properties attract the most activity from the real estate community and the potential buyers when it's first listed. The greatest opportunity to sell is when it's new to the market and priced correctly. You want to stress that, okay? And so here's 3 weeks and look at the activity that's taking place. And then this is when we normally get most offers. And then as it starts going into the seventh week, things start going down, as you could see, okay? And we want to make sure, we just want to make sure that This is where things start slowing down. The house is not attractive as much. And people are calling you saying, what's wrong with the house? Why is it still listed? You know, you would think by now you've got an offer on it. So that's why it's important. The photos, it smells good, looks good, and that we have it priced correctly. I'm going to show you my second favorite slide. When I literally practice this last paragraph right here, guys. So please make sure you practice that. So the misconception is you're not going to get what you paid for. You're not going to get what you need, what you want, or what it costs to rebuild, or what your neighbor said how much this house is worth. The value of your property is determined by what a buyer is willing to pay and a seller is willing to accept in today's market. Buyers make their pricing decision based on comparing your property to other properties sold in your area. This is so important right here, because this is where Mr. Seller Raymond should now be saying, you know what, if the market is saying my house is 215, you're right. Then, you know, because when we do that appraisal and somebody buys it at 250, that appraisal is going to go by the market, by the comps. And then we're going to have to reduce it anyway, because the appraisal won't meet what the market is selling for. And now we got to go back to the drawing board. Hopefully it's a cash buyer. They'll buy it for 250. But if it's a buyer that is going to get a loan, the appraisal is going to matter, and they're going to go by comps. And we're going to have to sell the house for less anyway, because of the fact of what the appraiser said. Okay, so you remember this, take a screenshot of this. This is so important when it comes to pricing the home. So let's talk about the comparative market analysis. This is where I would bring out the comps at this point, and I would share with them, you know, what the CMA is showing. I know you guys have RPR, use that, whatever the case, but this is where you're going to show them the houses that have sold, the houses that are active, and those that are pending and option pending. And then you come up with the price, okay? And then at this point, so let me go back real quick. So just remember, right here is where we talk about pricing. And then after this, I'll say, okay, well, Mr. Seller, I would be honored to get your home sold and have my team market the home and get it sold. So are you ready to list your home with me? And this is where we start. They ask, or this is where we start asking questions. I answer them, and then I get them to sign the listing agreement. Then I give them their folder, because they have homework. They have the seller's disclosure to fill out. We need to look at a calendar. When are we doing photos? When are they going to paint that kitchen tan color or beige? When are we going to get the mulch put in? When are we going to get those windows clean? People think, you know what, my windows are fine. You'll be amazed what clean windows look like, especially in a photo. So again, that's about a $200, $300 expense. I highly recommend it. Or some of them are less than that. But this is where we're signing now, okay?
Veronica?
Yes.
Hi. So do you take all of those, do you take that paperwork like hard copies, or do you do electronic?
Both.
Like the listing agreement and all of that?
I would do both, because you always have clients that rather have it to see it and sign it and touch it.
Mhm.
And then you have clients that say, just send it to me electronically, or you can do it right then and there electronically.
Okay.
I would take both to be safe, because you don't know if these people like paper or not. You'll know if they do, because by talking to them, if they like things, if they're very techie. And if
Okay.
they're not, then you have to respect that, and they're going to be signing papers at all times.
Absolutely. And as far as the seller's, the seller's disclosure notice, because it's so lengthy and there's so many boxes, would you recommend just giving them the hard copy?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So this is where I close them, right? And this is where I know, okay, I'm pretty much done here. And normally I could get them to sign with me and everything. Now, let's say I've had it plenty of times where they say, okay, well, we're going to be interviewing, Connie and Sylvia at 3 o'clock and at 5 o'clock. So we'd like to see what they have to say. So I would normally say, well, what is it? When do you feel that, what is not making you sign with me? And and then they'll may say a little bit more. I'll answer any questions, and I'll say, well, you know what? I understand you don't want to hurt Connie and Sylvia's feelings, but I would be happy to call them and tell them that there's no need for them to come at 3 o'clock and at 5 o'clock, because you've hired me to be your listing agent, and that I would be happy to work with them by them bringing me a buyer. And they, normally they're like, oh, okay, if you want to call them and make that uncomfortable call, go right ahead, and I will call them. And this is what it sounds like. Okay, Christian, I'm calling you. So it's like ring, ring. Hey, Christian, this is Veronica with Keller Williams. How are you?
Hi, Veronica. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm here at 407 Main Street with Ray and his family, and you're scheduled to be here at 5 o'clock for a listing presentation. So I
Yes.
just wanted to give you a courtesy business call to let you know that they've decided to list with me, and there's no need for you to come at 5 o'clock. And I'm looking forward to working with you and to be able to have you bring a buyer so we can work together. But I just
Oh,
wanted to call you
absolutely.
as a courtesy. So I hope you understand.
Oh, I totally understand. Thank you. I appreciate your phone call. Thanks so much. And congratulations on getting the listing. And I do hope that we can work together. Yes.
I just love you because that's normally not the way the call goes. So that's
I know,
perfect.
right?
Yeah. No. They normally say, can I
Some
talk to you?
negativity in there, but I'm
Yeah,
gonna be
yes,
positive.
yeah. Well, see, that just goes to show you that you're so classy with grace and professionalism. I will say maybe 2 people have done that to me. The other 25 did not. They'll normally say, and I just want to forewarn you, they're going to say,
Yeah.
can you please put Raymond and his wife Peggy on the phone? And I'm like, sure, one moment, please. And I'll be like, here. And then and I tell them, be ready. They may want to talk to you. And you're just going to need to stick to stand firm and to say thank you, but no thank you. Because they're going to try to convince them to say, you really should have given me an opportunity, blah, blah. And I always tell them, if they act like that, that goes to show they're going to show their true colors. You made a decision. They need to respect that. And if I don't work out, you can always call them again, but you're probably not going to call them now because look at the way they're acting. So of course they laugh about that. And I'm like, yes, and trust me, everybody wants to be hired. Thank you for just giving me an opportunity and allow me to go to be able to select you. That's why I always like to go first. When I'm interviewing Raymond, the one thing I forgot to ask them was, are you interviewing other realtors? Because normally they'll say yes, and you can say, really? Well, who are you interviewing if you don't mind? Because I love to know who my competition is. Oh, I'm interviewing Kristen Roberts and Carmen De Hoyos. Really? Okay, well, wow, they are great agents. You definitely are going to be interviewing some amazing agents. I may not know who those 2 ladies are, but I'm going to look them up. I'm going to look at their listings. I'm going to look at their hard photos. I'm going to see who my competition is because I want to be able to I'll beat them when I'm sitting in front of them. So if one of them does amazing marketing, I'm going to make sure I'm going to bring a lot of marketing. If one of them does a lot of stuff, social media, I'm going to bring samples of what my social media looks like. So just be ready. That's why I like to go first, because I like to make sure that they don't get a chance to talk to the other competition, but they will. And trust me, a lot of times they're like, well, thank you, Veronica. We really like you, but really we want to meet with the other ones. And at that point I back up because I'm not going to be pushier any more than that. I offered to make the phone call. I offered to just wrap this up, but it's okay. And I tell them, okay, well then, when do you think you'll be making a decision? Oh, we'll be making a decision tomorrow. Okay, well, great. Or later in the week. And then I'll normally say, okay, well then, great. I will be happy to I'll wait for your call. And then I'm definitely looking forward to listing your home. When you take fierce conversations, just know that that's where they teach you to have those conversations, and you do role playing and scripting. So you get really good at that, but you want to be still very compassionate, very professional, and still nice. You don't want to be a bullhorn because that's really going to just attract them of that. Sylvia asked, when do you do a CMA? So Sylvia, the way I would have done it is if I talked to Raymond on Monday and I was meeting him and his wife on Thursday, I would have done it that Monday because I had time. I'm ready to go. I've got to make sure. And I would have done several CMAs. I would have, just to make sure my numbers were coming out correctly. Because when you get in front of them, you're going to have to show them which houses you're talking about and which ones you compare to. If he would have called me that morning and told me, it's 8 o'clock in the morning and I can meet with him and his wife at 5 o'clock that evening when she gets off of work, I would have only had a couple of hours to get that ready. If he would have called me on Monday and I had a couple of days, not only would I've done my CMA, I would have done my Google searches on him. I would have done my homework on him and his wife. I would have went to go do a drive-by in that neighborhood. I would have learned a little bit more about his community, went to their HOA website. There's so much due diligence you can do when you have more time. But if you don't, you have to do the CMA as soon as possible when you're getting ready to meet with them, because you got to give them a number. Now, the other thing though, is if I didn't have that much time and I didn't get a chance to see, because you don't get to see the home until you get there, you can have an idea of what you're going to list at. But then I get there and I notice he has upgrades all over. Well, then now I'm going to add to my CMA. So yes, but you better have a CMA ready to go, even though you haven't seen the house, because some agents will say, I just want to see the house first. Now that I've gotten all the upgrades and information, I'm going to go back and do the CMA. You can do that too, but I still want to know what I'm working with. And it's best to have a ball figure of a number. Okay.
That was my next question. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And do you,
For you, Veronica,
sorry.
if you bring the listing presentation on hard copy and also the CMA, do you leave that with the clients when you leave the house?
Not if they don't sign with me.
Okay.
oh,
My listing presentation is mine. You should never leave it for anybody. Okay. They can, and my marketing pieces. Let me tell you why you say that. It's interesting. That's a very good question. I'm
That's
so
a great
glad you
question.
asked that, because I one time went and met with somebody. I left them samples of my marketing pieces. I left them the CMA. I didn't leave my listing presentation because it's customized. It's mine, right? But I did leave them the folder with some information in there so they can keep. And he ended up interviewing another realtor, which I knew with Remax. And then he didn't choose me. He went with that other realtor, and she used the same marketing concept I used because he shared that with her. And not intentionally. I don't think he realized, we're in competition like that. But it just went to show that you don't get to keep my information if you don't sign with me. Now, what I do, Carmen, is that I, let's say, for instance, Raymond says, okay, well, I'd like you to leave this information with me. I said, I'm so sorry, but this is my information that I keep, that it, is all my due diligence and everything. But what I will do for you though, is I'll write down the 3 addresses that, that were sold, active, and active, pending, and sold. So you know who to reference. And then I'm going to mark right here what I recommend your house should be listed for. And that's it. And then again, I still leave a folder just still with my information, my bio, top 10 reasons why to help you sell your home, those kind of things. But no, I wouldn't leave nothing else with them because they're not signing with you.
right. And do you use the cloud CMA from HAR? Do you take that with you, like, so they could see the pictures and all of that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You want to make, so they can see the inside. Yes.
Okay,
And all of that should be in color. Don't do nothing in black and white.
Absolutely.
Yep. Or create it, save it in a PDF, and that way when you open up your computer or your iPad, you're able to show it so they can see it. Yes, yeah.
And it's really nice.
Yes. And Carmen, just know too, I'm sorry, I'm calling, is it okay to call you Carmen or
Yeah.
Carmen?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. What else was I going to tell you? Oh, worst case, if you forget it and you give it the information, especially like the CMA, no offense, it's really more public information. So it's not going to hurt you to leave that. What I don't want you to get in the habit of leaving your marketing and your listing presentation. That's what I don't want you to get in the habit of. Yeah. But you always leave them a folder because it's all about presentation. It's all about a visual. So they're impressed that you left them something. And most people just leave pieces of paper. Always recommend bring a folder, a nice folder. We sell Keller Williams folders here all day long, guys. So buy a couple of those. When you start making some good money, then you get customized folders, right? With your name, your logo, your colors, those kind of things. But you always leave them with something. And then, so does the phone call have to happen in front of the sellers? Julia, not necessarily, but you can step outside, if you want to when you're calling them, but you're right, you don't have to. Maybe I should have asked, you want me to step outside, but I can almost guarantee 9 times out of 10, they're going to want to talk to them. So you're going to have to come back inside and be able to, because they want to hear from them, and I get it. But I forewarn them. I set the stage, and I'll say, okay, Mr. Raymond, okay, we're gonna go ahead and call Sylvia now, but I want to forewarn you, she's probably gonna be disappointed. You know, I don't say, oh my gosh, she's gonna be all right. But she's also gonna show you her true colors, because if she gets upset and irate, she's letting you know who you're working with. And but if she's professional, like most of my colleagues are, and understand that, okay, I didn't get the listing, then she's going to wish us well. And yes, she'll help us find a buyer and everything. But be ready, because if I do hand you over the phone and she wants to speak to you, she's going to try to convince you to allow you to keep the appointment. And we're ready to get your home sold. And if I mark all the boxes as to why you should hire me, then we just need to move forward with your first gut, and we can make this happen, and let's just get things going. Again, all that comes from fierce conversation, because I would have never done that in my other lifetime, because it's uncomfortable. But I just be careful with my delivery, my choice of words, your demeanor. You want to come across with professionalism and class. That's the main thing. Yeah. Because I promise you, somebody else is going to show their other colors, and you want them to see that, because you're going to be like, oh, I wouldn't go with her if I were you, but that's your choice. And that's up to them. Yeah. And they see that you're classy. They see that, that you're professional, and it's okay. Let them meet with them at 5 o'clock. And then when they meet with them, they may have a little concern, like, wow, I cannot believe you were going to do that. I can't believe you're going to cancel, blah, blah. And they harp on that. And they're going to be like, you know what? Let's just go with Veronica. And that's how it goes. Yeah. Let's see. With COVID-19, are most sellers' presentations still in person? No, I would still have the presentation, just share your screen during the Zoom session with them if they aren't comfortable. Absolutely. Yeah. So, yes. So I would, like right now, the way I'm doing it is exactly the way I would do with the seller. I would just share my next screen with the comps, and then ask questions at that point, and then start setting dates. You're not going to be able to view the home at this point. So you can tell them to walk the home with you with whether you do it FaceTime or they're walking with the Zoom throughout the whole home and those kind of things. Yeah. So a lot of stuff is virtual, and that's okay. All right. So at this point, I normally get them to sign. If they don't, I'm going to show you now what I normally put into the folder. Part of my services, Mr. Seller, is I have an after closing checklist. I want to make sure that you've let everybody know that you've moved, and to make sure that everything gets transferred over to you correctly. So this is my checklist here. What's next? We're going to finalize our documents, schedule the photo shoot, deliver the yard sign, lockbox, and deliver the flyers, and put the home on the market. Thank you. I really enjoy working with you. And then that's where it ends. Okay. So the next thing I want to share with you guys is, for those 21 who stayed on the call, thank you so much. We had 25 people, so that's amazing. Okay. I'm going to share with you this screen. I just don't know if I could share this with you. Let's see. Give me a thumbs up if you see a map. You do? Okay, perfect. Now this I could send to you. You're just going to email me, Veronica B at KW, and just say, I would like for you to send me a copy of the listing presentation and the bonus that you provided. This is the bonus right here, okay? All right, so this is, I'm just gonna, let me see, okay, yeah. There's a thing called the New Home Builders. I don't know if they still have this. You should always have a map like this. And the reason why I say that is because when you're working with buyers and they're like, yeah, I just want to move to Houston. Well, where in Houston do you want to move to? You want to be able to help them. And if you have a seller moving to another area, you want to be able to say, okay, you guys have lived, in Fort Bend all your life. Where would you like to go? Well, we want to go inside the loop. Great. Okay, so this is the inside the loop right here. Where exactly inside the loop would you like to be at? Okay, so this map always came in handy. That's all. All right. This is my favorite thing. It's called List of Things to Do. Time is of the essence. You'll have to create this yourself or make copies, but this is everything that I've done wrong or that I learned from another agent, because it's every checklist that you could think of if you've received it. The legal description, I've seen people make huge mistakes on the legal description. who the escrow officer is, the GF number, mortgage company guy, loan officer, appraisal, has it been completed? Because sometimes they forget and you want to make sure it's been taken care of. This is where you're constantly making sure everybody is doing their job. So the way I would do it is I would have, whether it was the buyer's and seller's name on the side, this was always in a clipboard. I always knew what was going on. And then eventually I gave it to my assistant. They would call and ask certain questions, and then she was able to answer because I would update it consistently. So again, it's just a checklist, which is really nice. This comes from my legal side. It's called my Murphy's Law. Everything that can go wrong at closing will go wrong, okay? So I have my buyer or my seller sign it because I wanted them to know to be very flexible and to be understanding when we're getting ready to go to closing. So your closing date is not etched in stone. This means you must be in a position to be flexible, both date and time for the entire week. They agree to that. I've had so many sellers and buyers get upset with me and say, oh my God, you said closing was Thursday at 2 o'clock. I've had to take off. I had to go take the dogs to daycare. I mean, you name it. I'm like, remember, I asked you to be flexible because I can't help that funding got delayed or anything you could think of could happen. You want to at least get 2 hours for closing. Don't think they can run over there during lunch hour and back, because that doesn't always happen. Scheduling movers and utilities. Oh, this is so important. This is probably my most costly mistake. So I closed with one house in Pearland and I closed another house in Cypress, okay? People were there to pack up Pearland's house. We closed at 10 a.m. Cypress closed at 2 p.m. Well, there was a delay at the Cypress home. So here comes the truck from Pearland to get into the Cypress home, and closing didn't happen until 4 o'clock. Well, title companies stop funding at 4 o'clock. Even though the bank down the street is open, funding stops at the title company at 4 o'clock. I recommend, the best advice I can give my new agents is do not schedule closings after 4 o'clock. Schedule them before. I like mornings and afternoons. I don't like anything past 2 o'clock if possible, because if it gets delayed, we won't fund. And what happened was we closed all right, but we didn't fund. It was a Friday evening, and we didn't get, the builder didn't give us the keys until Monday. My client had a truck full of furniture, nowhere to go, no house, because the builder would not give us the keys because they had not gotten funded. So I had to pay for a hotel for the weekend, food for that night for them, and I had to talk to the manager of that moving company to hold those furniture in their storage area and pay for it, so that way they could get moved in on Monday. And it all got worked out, but the wife was freaking out, right? I didn't have to do any of that because, no offense, it wasn't my fault that closing got funded so late. But it was just my way of thinking, that letting them know I offered, and they took me up on my offer, all right. And by the time it was all over done with, I ended up probably spending about $1,500, $1,500 just to get that all taken care of. But let me tell you, out of both of my closings and the price of that home, I made $32,000 total of my commission. So it was well worth it, okay? I get so many referrals from them like you would not believe. So they moved from, they upsized. You know, they went from a regular home in Pearland to a nice, $1.2 million house in here in Cypress. So you see the difference, where sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And I was on my feet, y'all. I was thinking, you can't be freaking out with that seller, because somebody has to, get a grip and figure out what happened. So just be ready. You just have to sometimes think outside the box. But had I had them sign this, I would have been covered, and I would have not had to pay what I paid. So don't be so quick to offer to pay. But if you feel like, you know what, I need to, this is getting out of hand, then please do so. Okay. About utilities. This is important. People can get moved and their utilities are not on. And they don't get on to the next day. Be careful closing on Fridays, because when the weekend comes, people don't work on Saturdays and Sundays. Try to get them closed before them, or as early as before 5 o'clock on Fridays, because we want to get their utilities on. Please do a final walkthrough. So many people don't do this, and they find out the house is not ready to close. People are still in it. I mean, you name it. I always like a 48-hour walkthrough, not a 24-hour. Give me 2 days to close, give me 2 days to do that walkthrough, or at least let me walk through 48 hours and this whole house is packed. You know, it worries me if it's not, because we only got 2 days prior to that. So they sign that too. They need to bring a certified check. A lot of people bring their checkbook. You got to check with your title company. If I'm not mistaken, Christian, you can probably help me with this, is that I think if it's under, what, 1,000, they can write a check, but if it's over, they have to bring a certified check. Is that still the rule or no?
I think you're right. I think you're right about that.
Yeah, so just be ready. Tell them to, whatever the lender or title company tells them to bring, that's what they need to bring, okay? Also too, agents, you should be checking that HUD statement. I think now they call it a seller's disclosure. You guys need to check dot every I, cross every T. I've saved so many people money on the other side because their agent didn't check and they overcharged them, those kind of things. So always please make sure, and then have a personal check with them just in case they're under and they have to pay. Make sure their driver's license is up to date. Oh, I cannot stress that enough. I've gone to closing and my rookie years and their license expired that day. Well, we couldn't close because of it. So you've got to make sure the license is expired. I mean, not expired. I'm sorry, guys.
So Nicholas had a good question, Veronica. He wanted to know if those expenses were tax deductible. And then second of all, if you will send me all of the bonus documents that you're willing to share, I will forward them to everyone tomorrow. And that saves you the time of just getting 21 plus emails.
You know what? I would love for you to do that. I don't mind, but I want who wants it, because who just to get an email doesn't do them any good to help their business. So
I got you. No problem.
Yep,
Just trying to help.
Yep. Thank you, but I love that. Yeah, yeah. Just don't send them this if they're not going to put it to use. I have a feeling they all will, because I see who's still on the call. But yes, ma'am, because otherwise that's going to be a waste of your time. So definitely, whoever wants it can have it, but they have to make it their own, please, Connie, because all of this is copyrighted, so they can use it. They just got to create it themselves. But I gave them the stuff to recreate. Okay. Thank you. All right. I think that's the last. Oh no, it's not. Hold on. Let's see what else do I got for you. Oh, this is really good, guys. This is the seller's checklist before and after closing. Let me tell you, it is so cool to show up at closing and for the buyers to tell you, oh my God, you know, I need to get your information because you were on point. My buyer doesn't even know where the mailbox is at, what days the trash comes. You got the mailbox keys. I mean, I made sure I had everything they needed. They didn't have to question anything. And I've gotten business because of that, because the buyer saw that their agent did not even make sure they had everything that they need. So please make sure, I want to know who their landscaper was, their pool guy, because they can get their own eventually, but who are they working with now so we can know. After closing, making sure if I'm getting a refund on taxes and insurance, make sure you get that. If not, follow up with the Harris County or whoever in your insurance company. We want to make sure that we receive the release of deed on the other house, that we're off the other house and we're on the new house, which is important. Lastly, now we're at the title company and we are going to get ready to fund, and I'm getting ready to go take a picture with them in front of the house with the sold sign. And I always tell them, okay, well, I'm going to go check on funding, Sylvia. I'll be right back. But can you do me and my team a favor and survey our service? We're always looking ways to make us better. So please be very honest. I promise you won't hurt our feelings. And if you don't mind us using the comments for our testimonials, for our websites and for other clients. So I would walk away. I would leave this survey in front of Sylvia so she could fill it out. And then I would walk back and get the survey and put it in my folder. I wouldn't look at it at the time. We'll go take pictures. We'll say our goodbyes. I give them the closing gift. And then I would look at the survey. Out of my 14 years in real estate, I've gotten 2 bad surveys. My first survey that was bad was I drove too fast. So when I was showing homes, I would drive, to get to the next home. And they said, we loved everything about her, but she just drives so fast. So I had to learn to slow down. And then the second thing was I talked too fast. They said, we were afraid she was going to miss something because she goes, and she talks fast. So as you could tell, I'm still learning to slow down. So that's really important, but that wasn't too bad. I mean, but I love the fact that they provided some great information. You can create your own survey, but please make sure that you get a survey to your client because you want to make sure that they are able to help you with that. Yes. Okay. All right. So that concludes my class. So I hope you were able to get something from it and what made me very successful in a listing agent. I wish you were in person because I actually walked the room so you can kind of see what I do. But that's okay. I was trying my very best to be a visual and kind of use the example. Yvonne, you can tell her too. Is she still there? Okay, so I'll be right there. Okay, thank you. So yes, but just ask any questions. You can always role play with me. I don't mind at all. I used to go with agents on listing appointments and I used to always walk out of there saying, yes, I still got it because I would get the listing for them. I'm just not able to do that as much now, but if you give me advance notice, I don't mind at all whatsoever. But this is why I no longer do listing because I make sure this office is run correctly for you guys and effectively and profitable. Yes. But any last questions you may have for me?
I just have a comment. You've blown me away. There's a lot of great information.
Good. I am so glad. I am
Thank
so
you
glad.
so much.
Same
Yes.
here. I can't wait to go through the recording and make up some of my own templates or own listing.
Yes. Like I said, you can have all of it. Just make it your own. That's all I'm asking. Yes. And let me tell you why I say that. I've had people call me before that I've given this to, and they're like, yeah, Veronica, yes, we wanted to know if you can come and list our house. And I'm thinking to myself, how did you get my information? Well, you emailed it to us. I'm like, no, that wasn't me. One of my agents is using my stuff and they didn't change their information. Yes, so please be careful doing that because I don't want to take your business from you.
You're saying they just gave your name and everything?
Everything. I'm telling you, they used it just like it was. Yeah. Or one of them changed everything but missed certain pieces. And my information was right there. Yeah. Yeah. So definitely be cautious with that. The other thing,
Awesome.
thank
This
you.
was awesome. Thank you for sharing all your golden nuggets with us.
Yes. you're
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
So
I got
my
some new
next,
tools for my toolbox.
yes. I'm going to do a buyer's one next. They'll put that in the calendar. And I also have a buyer's presentation. Again, Valerie did it for me. So you can definitely talk with her. You can tell her I want it just like Veronica. She's going to laugh though, because she says, Veronica, I get that a lot. And I tell them, no, give it to them. Just go right, just change their stuff around. So she says, okay. She's like, but I'm trying to get them to do their own, and I was like, well, if they don't want it that way, it's okay. So just know if you're adamant, then tell her, nope, I want it just like that. Just put my information right here. That's fine. But if you want it your own and change a lot of other stuff, then go ahead. Let me give you some advice though. I haven't practiced in 7 years, okay? And so a lot of the stuff may be slightly outdated. So please review it very carefully. I know that on Ignite, you guys have a new listing presentation. Look at that and compare it to mine and combine it and just make it better. If I was going back in practice today, that's what I would do. But this gives you a good head start to kind of figure out how I talk, how I explain everything. Don't read every single thing. Just, hit the key points. Always mirror and match. Like, I'm going to give you an example. If I was talking to my beautiful Connie, right? I went to her and her husband's house to do a listing presentation. I know both of them. And if I talked at the speed I talked at, I probably would not probably win them over as much, but I probably, right, Connie, I probably need to slow down the way I talk. But if I was talking to Kathy, I could talk like this all day long because Kathy can keep up with me. It's not that Connie and her husband are slow because they're not, they're professionals, but they are analyzers. They are very observant and I have to talk like this and watch. I have to adjust myself just to do this. So Connie, thank you so much for meeting with me today. I'm going to give you a presentation and we're going to go over how I'm going to market your home and how I'm going to go step by step in regards to preparing your home to sell. So is that okay with you?
Sounds great.
Great. Okay, well, let's get started. I'm like, okay. So you see the difference. where I'm like, hey, Kathy, good to see you. All right, so we're gonna tell you how I'm gonna list your house. You see how the difference? That is me 24/7. But when I see somebody, like when Connie and I are doing business together, Connie comes in with her sweet stuff and she's talking to me. I have to wait, pause, because I already have an answer for her, but I need to let her finish. And then I'm like, okay. So when you meet with clients, guys, please mirror and match. If you're
I get plenty of practice.
good, yes.
I'm married to someone who talks as slow as I do fast.
Well, there you go. Yes, 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 absolutely. And let me tell you, all the time I would practice in front of family. You know, I mean, I would, and our practice with agents, you know, I would practice in my living room, you know, and have my family sitting at the sofa like I was actually doing a presentation. I just kept practicing and I just got better and better. When I first got started, I did a listing presentation in an hour and a half, almost 2. I can do it in 45 minutes now. Because if you're working with a high D like me, you're gonna need to get to the point, because I'm not gonna be able to work with you that way if you're trying to sell my house. But if you're working with somebody like Connie, that's gonna work. But that's why you don't ever want to lose a client. You just need to adjust. You just need to be able to, how they are is how you need to be. Always be overdressed, don't ever be underdressed, because the next agent behind you may look better than you, all because she looks much more professional. If you're working with friends and clients, friends and family, you still treat them as a professional. Don't be late just because they're related to you. Don't treat them any different because they're expecting you to, and you want to over deliver. I cannot stress that enough. But all of you make me proud. I'm very honored to be in business with all of you. Just know I'm your biggest fan. So if you have any questions, just call me and ask me, and I'll be happy to answer them. Okay. All right.
Veronica,
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
you're our biggest fan too.
You're so cute. Thank you, girl.
God
Thank
bless
you.
you.
And advice.
You're more than welcome. Okay, guys. And Connie, we'll leave the chat box on just to make sure anybody else who wants the information so you can send to. I'm going to step out because I've got somebody waiting for me in the conference room. So I'm going to leave my video on.
I thought you still wanted them to email you. That's
Oh,
okay. Yeah.
Okay, I'm so
I
sorry.
emailed you.
Okay, yeah, well,
I don't know
because
if
I
it
like
was
your
okay.
idea better, because you said.
I think that's kind of what they've become used to when I'm in the class. So they were putting comments on there to me, and I was trying to reply that you preferred a different way. So we should have talked about that before the class. I'm sorry.
Well, it's okay. You know what? I don't mind you sending it. I know at one point there was 25 people on the call. I really don't
Right.
mind them having it. I really don't. But if you, my thing is, I just learned where I'll give people stuff and then they just don't use it. So, you know, but that's okay. So let's do it this way. Let's send all 25 my stuff, but please put the disclosure that this is copyrighted, that I'm
Right.
allowing them to use it, but to remove my information, please.
And I'll
Yes, ma'am.
I'll CC you on the email, and then you know who all's got it, and we
Yes,
can
ma'am.
cover it all that way.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, guys. Okay, so then I can.
Thank you, Connie.
Thank
Sure.
you, Connie.
Thank
All right.
you.
Talk
Y'all
to you
have a good
later.
evening.
Y'all have a good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night.